if we can get taken back to the start of it all.
Yeah.
So let's start with the bike shop dream and then work our way from there.
Okay. Oh yeah, so this was from the BMX days with the Rockstar Energy. They used to sponsor a lot of the things, and I don't know, well, obviously we needed a lot of Rockstar or Monster or Red Bull or whatever, but I'm sure it was probably not that great for us. But yeah, we cracked that off on a regular basis, probably 3 or 4 of them in a skate park session. So in the UK we have like a careers officer or a lady, man, whatever, and they come and they kind of sit down and they map out what you'd like to do with your career and so on. And obviously I always think like it's very hard when you're like 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever, even all the way up to like 20. It's quite hard to really even map out anything that's tangible. But at that moment in time, I was asked, you know, what was my future? What did I want to do when I grew up? And I liked cycling, I liked BMXing, I liked doing all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to run a bike shop. And I always thought that would be pretty cool. And I actually worked in many bike shops between the age of about 14 all the way up to about 22 on my kind of journey through that. And that theme kind of stayed with me. But I think that it probably wasn't really about a bike shop. I just kind of realised that probably wasn't really, you know, I was just either going to be stuck running a bike shop forever, and it's going to be very difficult to upscale unless I've got a lot of capital or make a roaring success of it. There's a picture of me at one of my first corporate bike jobs before I went to Halfords. This is Action Bikes in Brighton. There is me. That is probably one evening where we got rained off because you can see I'm soaking wet, but we're probably sitting on the floor eating a pizza somewhere outside a skate park. So, you know, that's how we lived rock and roll back in the Halfords days. And then we probably just went to work like that in the morning because, you know, that's what you do when you're like 19, 20. Really the next step up for me at Halfords was to probably go down a more corporate route and then go up to being the next job up, which involved maybe being more of a kind of overall manager, not bike department. So I left the corporate job at Halfords to go and pursue a degree in media marketing and business, which I really enjoyed. Not particularly from an educational background, really. It's not my first cup of tea. I was dyslexic and I don't particularly learn in a class environment very well. I wanted my degree for self-validation really, so I needed to know that it gave me a lot of confidence that I could do stuff, you know. It taught me how to speak in front of people, give presentations, told me to believe in myself, and even if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say that and then go and find it out. So I'm not sure I use all of my degree now, but it definitely gave me the confidence booster to kind of get probably where I am now. So I finished university. I was actually working at a property company at the time. I'd fallen into that through various channels, worked my way up. As soon as I got my degree, it was like of quite an old school practice, and they were like, oh, you have a degree, now you can be a partner. During that journey, I worked my way up. Through that business. It was very exciting times. I worked very hard to get where I was there, but I came to a crossroads and had to make some decisions as to whether I wanted to continue down that path or do something different. So this was the building that I was based at when I was at that partnership. I remember one time we argued about the way we ordered stationery, because we had somebody who was a lady at the front desk who ordered the stationery, and we sat there analysing what we'd ordered, paper and the rest of it. And it's important to sweat about the small things and look at those, but we were arguing about like the quality of the paper or something, and we're sat around a table and I'm like, we've just spent 500 quid of our own time arguing about whether we're spending £1 or 89p on paper, depending on the GSM quality. I found that process very frustrating, and I didn't feel like I could change it, not quick enough. I thought it's going to take me 10 years to get to where I think this business is, and they didn't really see into the plans that I had. So the choice is either you put up with it because you're in a partnership, and that's part of being in a partnership and they have their good sides, or go out on your own, and that's what I chose to do. This is actually a picture of my first laptop that I bought, that was actually part of the Charles Cox bunch of assets that it owned. I remember being quite proud of that. It was a significant moment in my life that I was starting up this firm and leaving. This is actually a photograph of the very first office before the desks went in. So you got printer, paper and various bits, and a scrap of carpet. So yeah, not particularly glamorous, but we all got to start somewhere. I did primarily, to start with, what we actually, our core bit of the business, the bit I know the most about, and is my kind of bread and butter, if you like, which is block management, so looking after leasehold property, collecting the service charge and maintaining the building. I was quite keen to make the business look fairly established as quickly as I possibly could, in terms of numbers of clients, staffing, website, all that sort of stuff. I wanted to make us look like we were a kind of bespoke firm and we knew what we were doing. That was like our USP. We're not kind of dabbling in this. This is our main line of business. Yeah, the early days was full of good members of staff and people that helped grow the business, whether apprentices or full-time members of staff. And then we grew, and then we needed to move out of there, really. It was a room underneath a block of flats that we managed. So this is Janine, who has been with us really since the start, to be honest. This is her on the first website, if you like, that I referred to earlier. We've done many different websites since, and I'm a strong believer of making sure Google and its various algorithms is continuously fed. So we have probably had, I want to say, 4 or 5 websites maybe, or at least remodels of them, maybe about half a dozen. Janine's now head of corporate accounts and oversees the service charge as well. So we moved to this enterprise centre where we are now, 2018, and never really looked back since. I think at that moment that was a definite growth curve for the business. It was a little bit of a wake-up call to me, I suppose. I liked running the business. It made good money, but it was just a sort of profitable job for me, really. It relied upon me being in it and me being here and driving the business forward. And I thought, when we moved offices, the rent went up considerably, much more of a commitment. It was like having another member of staff unexpectedly. And I thought at that moment in time, I probably need to either just leave this as it is and just accept we are where we are, or I need to, much more focus in on things and really try and develop the business and grow it, really. Here is some photos of the first smelly catwee property, but then there's an example of trying to repair that almost straight away so that we didn't have that pouring in. And then again here where the washing machine had leaked and literally just eaten the floor away. So these were the sort of first introductions into property development, and to be honest, they are quite a lot to chew off, but I had the encouragement and support of my dad, who had showed off these things, and he showed me how to fix these things. So in the early days, that was very useful. In 2019, I actually, we'd use some of our profits to buy sort of rundown property and do them up and so on. And I just finished purchasing I think it was about our fourth or fifth property, and I just thought it was a very slow way of building a property portfolio, really. Like, we're saving up over 18 months, 2 years, buy another one, and then sometimes you refinance it and you got some of your money back out, some of you didn't. I mean, it's a good way of building it, but I wondered if that was the correct thing to do or if it was very slow. We did that just before COVID happened, which was obviously, you know, kind of emotionally quite a scary time for a lot of people, but especially for us, just having picked up the keys to an empty property and not realising we couldn't even rent it out. So obviously you had this kind of decline in property market during the early days of, or early phases of COVID, I suppose. And then what we had was this kind of like sea of properties come on, but no one could view them and so on. And obviously it was scary times and mortgage rates were quite low. But I've always quite liked the quote from Warren Buffett about being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. And I thought that it was probably a good time to look at buying some. So 2020, we actually picked up quite a few properties when they were fairly cheap and mortgages were hard to come by. Also, even just getting mortgages, because they couldn't get in the houses to value them, and they were doing desktop surveys and they're coming back with some strange valuations and so on. But using those tools to build that kind of property arrangement or empire, if you like, or build the property portfolio. Yeah, so those early days there are where I think there was an S-curve of growth on the whole business as an overall, but always at that point it had been built up to that time. And I'm not saying that like COVID attributed to it, but there are a number of factors or ingredients that allowed it to accelerate. On my journey, I'm a property guy foremost, but as time's gone by, we've made various acquisitions and people have maybe more known me for that of recent years. It came to a point where the firm was growing fairly well. We moved offices around a little bit and so on, and I just was trying to think about ways that we could expand and complement the existing business. It is profitable, but it's a low profit margin. Block management is profitable in volume, otherwise you just created yourself a job. So then we bolted on surveying departments, we bolted on the purchasing of properties, lettings department, all that sort of stuff. And obviously as we were buying more ourselves, we wouldn't give that to a letting agent, we would try and manage that in-house. Then we got some things on the go as well, as we always do, various acquisitions. We're looking to expand our lettings department, and I've been talking about some block management and surveying things as well. So yeah, hopefully lots to come in 2024 and 25. So lots of business failures on a micro environment. My favourite one, as I mentioned earlier, was the Chilli Con Carne incident. So I'm at university, they've got this big cork board or a whiteboard, whatever it was, and you could post stuff up on there. I posted like handyman services, so I could repair bikes, I can put shelves up, I can do whatever it is that you need, handyman stuff. And having then been invited into this lady's halls of residence, I'd checked that she had consent from her landlord for me to put these shelves up, everything, the whole lot, put them all up. Then I asked her for whatever it was like £15 or something. I was charging like £10 an hour or whatever, and she was like, well, I haven't got any money, I thought it was a free service from the university. And I suppose it's that kind of thing that teaches you to be clear about what you're doing to start with, or understand that people might not see the same thing. Like, she's just seen a sign saying handyman services, £10 an hour or something like that, and she hasn't read the sign properly. Maybe it's the way I designed the sign, I don't know. But in quick thinking, you know, she offered me this frozen, she'd made loads of Tupperware pots of chili con carne, frozen them all for her meals for uni or whatever, and said, oh, well, I can offer you these because that's all I've got. I don't have any money. I can offer you these Tupperware pots. And I thought, well, the Tupperware pots have got value to them because we'll reuse them. And we probably, me and Sam, would have taken that money and bought food in the shop. So, you know, we've got chili con carne for a week now, or I have anyway. I would say an early days failure of me is to have lost focus, if you like. It's very easy for you to just create a job that's just a nice lifestyle for yourself and not really grow it, and that's okay if that's what you want. But me, harping back to the school days, I think there was always this underlying thing of wanting to grow something. The income, money, turnover, whatever is subsequent to what you're doing, but I actually like the excitement of doing that more than I perhaps knew back in the kind of late 2010s. But yeah, I think that a lesson to be learned is to, you know, figure out what you want to actually do. I don't think I really had that bigger plan. I just didn't want to be in that partnership anymore. I just wanted to do something different and give it a go. But as soon as I focused and started to write down my plans and look at things, that really accelerated. Human emotions are a massive factor to why people get on or don't get on, and I really underestimated that. So that's probably led to a few business failures across my whole career, really, not really judging people in the right way, or not really truly understanding the way they feel, or not paying enough attention to it. You know, you can disagree with the way someone feels or acts or whatever, but you have to accept that is the way they see the world. Sometimes it's insurmountable, sometimes it isn't. So I learned a lot from that journey, if you like, of working with people.
Why did you want to start this brand, and how do you think it's going to impact entrepreneurs who follow along?
So I really wanted to kind of give back a little bit. I quite like helping other people. A lot of people that I come across on a day-to-day basis, and they see what we're doing and the rest of it, and they might be where we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and they want to be the next level up, or maybe figure out, because we're doing so many different things, there's always something that somebody can probably learn from. In the lockdown, alongside all of that, I actually started my own YouTube channel. Welcome to Frugal Finance. My name's Matthew, and I'm going to talk about the pending property crash of 2021. So let's get stuck in. I just enjoy doing that, and I get a lot of people ask, I was thinking of doing this, I was thinking of doing that, or whatever, and I just wanted to turn that into a kind of real life example. I'd love to try and help more people and learn about their stories and stuff, and I'm always learning, and I like to just pass that knowledge back down again. So yeah, hopefully everybody enjoys and and has something to learn, even if it's just tips and snippets. So. Hello, my name's Matthew Cox, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Amortization, a bit of a difficult one to say that.